Most people struggle to shift to abundance, mainly because they're unaware of how abundance actually works, wealth actually works, and they're unaware of what they can do once they've created the foundation of feeling abundance and being in that energy, what to do from there, what practical steps, action steps can they take. So in this video, we're going to be going over how you can start to shift to abundance so that you're inviting more of that into your physical reality that's coming up next. So welcome to the video. My name is Dave, and this is HeartSpace, where I'm creating videos every single day to help you travel along your heart path. Typically every single day. Recently we haven't been because I'm just moving, so it's been a bit sporadic, but as soon as I'm settled, we will be back to daily videos. Now, if you really want to shift to abundance in what I believe is the quickest way possible, check out my course, Rising Abundance, down below. You can learn more about it. I'll leave it linked in the description. That is going to help you take everything we go over here deeper and deeper and deeper to where it's working in your life quickly. Now, without further ado, let's go over some things that are going to help you shift to abundance immediately, starting in reverse order with number 3. Now, number 3 is a big one, and this is one of the big mistakes most people make. And this is what I'm talking about when it comes to awareness with abundance. Many people think you have to do it in one way, which is actually doing it in that way prevents abundance from coming in. And what most people do is they focus on getting out of lack instead of bringing in abundance. So people will scrimp and save and, say things like money doesn't grow on trees. And essentially, they're trying to come from a lack mindset to get out of lack. But what you focus on grows. Whether it's you're trying to get out of it, you're trying to bring it in, it doesn't matter. The universe doesn't really speak in the language of positive, negative. It just sees what you're visualizing, the information that you're giving it, and will give you more of that. So if you're visualizing and thinking about and talking about lack, you're going to get more lack. So instead of focusing on what you don't want, you want to focus on what it is you do want, from like a positive place, in the sense of like, I want abundance, I am abundant. I'm going to focus on the things that I can do to bring in that abundance instead of always focusing on what you do not want. Even if you're thinking about those things because you think you're doing it in a preventative way. Oh, if I think about, lack and how to prevent being in lack, I'm preventing that from happening. But what you're actually doing is bringing it closer. And so that's one of the biggest mistakes I find a lot of people make, is they're focusing again on lack, even though they don't want it. It's like, I don't want lack. Well, don't even focus on that, because there will be an absence of lack if you simply focus on abundance. The other stuff will be taken care of as a byproduct, but don't focus on the lack. Focus on the abundance. Focus on the abundant thoughts. Focus on being in that energy, taking action from that place, and try, if you can, to not allow those lack thoughts, actions from that place. For example, fear-based actions because you're afraid of lack. That's actually only going to invite it in. In fact, in the comments, if it resonates with you, put, I am allowing abundance to flow into my life. Again, focusing on the abundance, not the lack. Not something like, I am preventing lack from coming into my life. I am allowing abundance to flow into my life. Number 2 is learning and understanding and applying universal principles and universal laws. This is like the law of resonance, the law of balance, the law of traction and attraction. If you apply these things, then they simply will work. But a lot of people, again, they get this wrong because they lack awareness of these laws. If you knew, for example, we all know about gravity, and so we don't go jumping off buildings because we know that if we do, we're going to splat on the ground. If we drop something, it'll fall to the ground. We all have an understanding of that, and so we all apply, and use that law to our benefit instead of our detriment for the most part on a daily basis. And if you were aware of other universal principles, especially the ones that have to do with what you bring into your life, you would again do the same thing, apply them in ways that would, hopefully benefit your life and not be a detriment to your life, right? But that's why a lot of people have so much lack of these laws, of an understanding of these laws. They don't actually apply things, and when you actually look at what they're doing things that actually, of course, bring them lack, or of course bring them negativity, or of course bring in things that they don't want because they lack an understanding of these laws. And my invitation to you would be to do your research and application of laws like the law of resonance, looking that up, the law of balance, Pearson's law is another good one to look at. Again, of course, law of attraction and law of action or traction, right? When you understand these laws and you understand they are universal principles always being applied, and you kind of get your mind around that, well, then it becomes silly not to apply them in ways that are actually going to benefit your life in the same way you do for things you've understood since you were a kid, simply because you were taught those ones and you weren't taught about these other ones. But understanding these laws and then applying them consistently is really the name of the game. And if you do that, you will shift to abundance. For example, the law of resonance, very few people understand or know about the law of resonance. And it essentially means whatever energy you're resonating with consistently more often, whatever, I'll give you an analogy, whatever radio station you're tuned into, that's what you're going to receive. And it works on an energetic level, meaning if you feel abundance now and you truly, genuinely resonate on that frequency, by universal law, by law, it's not a theory, by law, stuff on that same frequency has to come in. And so if you resonate on that frequency, opportunities, people, and so on will have to come in of abundance, right? Opportunities for maybe people you can meet who will help you in that regard. Maybe even stuff like this, like different videos coming in, different material that can help you along, courses, coaches, that next move you need to make. If you're resonating on that wavelength, you're going to get that stuff coming in. The law of resonance is a big one to understand. But if you don't understand these laws, if you're not even aware of them, well, you're not going to apply them consciously. So my invitation is to become aware of them. I go over a lot of them on this channel, but become aware of them and then apply them, because once you understand they are laws, you're not going to use them against yourself. You'll, I'm assuming, use them to benefit yourself and beautify your life. So if you're enjoying this video or it resonates with you so far, I invite you to hit that like button so it reaches more heart-centered people. And now let's move on to number one. Now, number one, I've mentioned many times, but I'm going to continually keep mentioning it because it's just one of the foundations of being able to live the life you want to live. Of course, it's more nuanced, but I'm going to give you the general idea, and it's the outer world follows the inner world. Again, this is working on universal principles and laws. We weren't taught these things when we were kids or through schooling, but it is absolutely the case. And again, there's way more you can look at to kind of prove that this is the case. The outer world, everything you see in the physical sense, can see, can perceive in the physical, comes from your inner world. And this is why I'm talking about things like the law of resonance being so important, because that's an inner world practice, connecting to the wavelength, the energy of that which it is you want in the physical. The physical will reflect what you are doing in the inner. It just takes a little bit more time in the physical because the physical is more dense, where energy is kind of more free, right? It's instantaneous. You can feel a certain energy, especially when you get good at being able to connect to different energies instantaneously. But it takes a little bit of time for the physical equivalent to manifest. But the outer world always follows the inner. You will never see someone with a beautiful inner world and a crappy outer world for the most part. Maybe in transition, but not on a consistent basis for the most part, unless they've chosen, for example, to give up worldly possessions or something like that, like a monk or someone who's deliberately gone in that direction. But they probably still live an insanely fulfilling life. But it's something to really just keep remembering, is that the outer world follows the inner, and what I'm getting at is to prioritize the inner world. So many people will justify doing something in the outer world over the inner world. For example, I know meditating would be good for me and probably help me, but I got this thing I got to do, this errand that I think is more important. Or I know like breath work or doing, the shadow work is it's kind of important, but this outer world stuff, I got this thing, a person I got to meet, I got to do this thing, whatever it is. When in reality, it's the reverse. Doing those inner world things are not only going to help your outer world in general, but it's also going to show you that many of those things you think are important in the outer world are not. And so many things start to fall away, and you realize you actually don't need to do when you start prioritizing the inner world. And then again, you make the space for a new physical reality to start forming once you cultivate deliberately and consciously the inner world. Now, a great way to allow that last one to really start flowing into your life consistently is to learn how to communicate with Source, so you know when you're getting those intuitive hits. When Source is speaking through you, and you can act based on that. So I would check out this video next, where we're going over 5 ways in which you can communicate with Source, know when it's Source, and really move from that place. So I highly recommend you watch that video next.